And we are back again. We are live again. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another live stream. We have one of the nastiest bearish weekly close in the history of this market in the next 3 hours, less than 3 hours, 3 hours from now. Less than 3 hours from now, we are going to see, a nasty weekly close, a bearish weekly close in the history of Bitcoin in the next 2 to 3 hours. So, I'm also going to talk about something that is about to happen. The last time we closed below this moving average. We saw a 42% drop in the price of Bitcoin over the following months. We about to close below this, key moving average. The last time we closed below this key moving average, we saw a 42% crash in the price of Bitcoin over the following months. So this is going to be a brilliant live stream. I have so much to share with you guys. We have a lot to talk about. Of course, guys, I'm not really feeling well. So, if it sounds like I'm not energized, if it sounds like, I'm not as excited to live stream, I want you guys to be with me, and hopefully you understand. I'm still not feeling good. I've had this nasty cold for the last couple of days. But it's getting better. I feel like it's peaking, and soon we should start heading down. But what can I do, right? Continue to take some meds. So, anyways, welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you guys are having an amazing Sunday. Look, I'm having an amazing Sunday. If you guys know, I'm a huge soccer fan. I'm a huge Arsenal fan, and I was just watching the derby between Arsenal and Tottenham, and we absolutely crushed these guys. So, I'm having a beautiful day, but of course, at the cryptocurrency market, not so much. But it's okay, guys. It's okay. Better days are coming back, early 2027 and, 2028, 2029. If this is going to be, just like the past cycles, the bear market should only be in 2026. So, anyways, let's talk about this market. But first and foremost, though, if you are joining me for the very first time, just do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. If you're watching the stream right now, do me another favor, hit the like button. Those are the only two things that I'm ever going to ask from you guys. Subscribe, hit the like button, and let's talk about this market. So. Let's talk about this market. All right, so let's talk about this. So today I'm gonna focus on the weekly time frame, because we have a weekly close in the next 2 to 3 hours. So I'm gonna keep our conversation on on this weekly close right here. I don't know how many of you guys watch my stream during last weekly close, but if you remember, guys, I told you that was not a good looking, or that was a bearish weekly close. And what I said to you guys was that, over the next couple weeks, what you are more likely to see, is exactly what we saw last week. You are going to see Bitcoin, closing below 70,000 and above $60,000, until this consolidation that is taking place on the daily time frame, is over. So what I said to you guys last week was that, I actually believe this upcoming week we are going to close below $68,000. That's what I say to you guys. I said last week, all right, last Sunday, what I say to you was, when Bitcoin closed above, when we closed above $68,000, this was last weekly close. This one right here, guys, 68,000. What was the weekly close? So we closed at $68,800. What I say to you was that I think the next weekly close is going to be below $68,000, and I think this is exactly what we're about to see. But anyways, let me kind of play it to let me play it for you, and then we'll take it from here. $1,000. I don't think we're gonna close this week above $70,000. I also don't think we're gonna close below $60,000. So if we go back, look, I am even happy to make an argument that we're more likely to close below. Let me see, what was the weekly close? I actually think we're more likely to close below $68,000. Like honestly, guys, look, it wouldn't surprise me if we close this week, below 68,000. Like we could. That was last week, people. That was last week. So last week I told you, I think, BTC closes below $68,000. It wouldn't surprise me. It won't surprise me if we close below $68,000. And this is exactly what we have, guys. So what I continue to say to you is, you need to avoid. You need to avoid what is taking place in between. You need to avoid short-term price action. You need to stay away from, when this market is bullish on, the 15 minutes, the 5 minutes. You need to stay away from that, guys. What you need to focus on is weekly close. Are we closing higher than the previous week? Are we closing lower? So as you guys can see, in the next, in less than 3 hours, we are going to get a weekly close below last weekly close. So below the close of last week is exactly where we are going to close, guys. And I'm going to tell you right now, all right, I'm going to tell you right now, chat, if we close at $67,000, I think next week, this upcoming week, I believe we are going to close below $67,000. All right, we are going to close below $67,000. If we close at $67,000 today, I think next weekend we close below $67,000, and I don't think we have more than 2 weeks after, above $60,000. I think maybe you get 1 or maybe 2 more weeks, and then, shortly after that, you're looking at a Bitcoin that is trading in the low $50,000 range. I continue to say this to you guys. And I'm saying this not because, I don't want you guys to be bullish on the market. It's just the reality. The reality is this is a bearish market. When you look at this weekly right here, there is not a reason to be bullish on Bitcoin. Don't allow these moon boys to fool you that, don't allow these moon boys to fool you. Don't allow these moon boys to influence your decision making. If this is going to be a bullish market, the turnaround is going to take some time. For us to go from bearish to bullish on this weekly, we are going to have to break above $98,000. And if you don't think breaking above $98,000 is going to take some time, then what else do I say to you? Chad, just think about that. If the only way for BTC to become bullish on the weekly is to break above $98,000, right? What would make you think that all of a sudden, this is the time to be bullish? Wait until we get above $98,000. Then you can become bullish on this market. But in my opinion, thinking about $98,000 doesn't make any sense to me. Look at the performance. Look at weekly closes. Are we closing lower than the previous weeks? Yes. Are we closing higher than the previous weeks? No. So what is the direction of this market? Is it up or down? If we're closing lower than previous weeks, is it up or down? It's 100% down. It is 100% down. This right here, guys, this is nasty work, man, from many of these influencers. To have the guts to talk about how bullish this market is, to have the guts, to lie about Bitcoin, the structure, price action, bull market, bear market, it's too much. So, if you watch my stream, I've saved you from a very big mistake in 2026 because and I know that I've told you all 2026 to stay on the sideline. Don't do anything. Stay on the sideline. This is a bearish market. There's nothing to like about this right here. There is nothing to like about this right here. In terms of price going up on a consistent basis, weekly, monthly. There's nothing to like about this right here, guys. And you're looking at, this weekly close right here, closing below last weekly close. That is another confirmation of why, you're looking at an extremely bearish market. And I'm going to tell you right now, guys, if we close this week right here, all right, let's say we close right here, $67,400. I'm telling you right now, next weekend, we are going to close below 67,000. So we might close around 66,000 or we might close 65, 64. Who knows, guys? So whatever you do, after this weekly close, from now until the next weekly close, whatever you do is try to avoid, what takes place between after the week is closed and before the close of next week. Whatever you do, guys, try to avoid it. Because within, the week, we could potentially go back to $68,000, but it won't change anything. We could go back to $68,000, but it won't change anything. The focus is always going to remain on, where do we close the week? Is it higher than the previous week or is it lower? That should be your focus. That is your number one focus, guys. And this is why, I continue to tell you guys, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm building this channel from the ground up, if it wasn't for the fact that I lost my main channel, the one with, 10,000 subscribers, chat, I wouldn't live stream daily. All right, I'm building this. I need to live stream. I need to get viewers. I need to put in the work, proof of work, guys. If I'm streaming once a week or once a month, how long is it going to take me to grow this? It's going to take me forever. So I'm streaming daily because it's the only way to grow this. But, if this was my main channel, I wouldn't stream every day. I'll probably just stream, maybe once every couple of weeks. Because what has changed, since the last time I streamed? Nothing. What changed from last week to this week? Nothing. Because the overall trend is down, guys. If we get something like this on the weekly, that is a change. And then we can talk about what this looks like and what could potentially come out of something like this. But as of right now, you're looking at a bearish market. As of right now, you're looking at a Bitcoin that is, we are deep in the bear market. Like super, super deep, guys. If you think this is a bullish market, if you think this is a bullish Bitcoin, what can I say to you? All right, what can I say to you? What more is there for me to say to you? All right. Subscribe to the channel, people. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Good evening. Hope you having a great day. Hit the like button, people. Subscribe if you're new, of course. All right, let me talk about Bitcoin closing below this moving average for the very first time since 2020. This right here is not good. This right here is not good. I can tell you this right now. So, Bitcoin is about to close below the 200 weekly moving average for the very first time since 2022. And this right here is really, really bad. This right here is not good for the bulls. This right here is a game changer. The last time we closed below the 200 weekly moving average, you got to go all the way back to June of 2022. In June of 2022, Bitcoin closed below the 200 weekly moving average. And straight after, guys, we crashed about 42%. So if you go from right here all the way down, this is a 42% crash. Right after losing the 200 weekly moving average. If we were to repeat this, going down 42% after closing below the 200 weekly moving average, where are we more likely to land? Like, where is the price of Bitcoin after a 42% crash? Chat, if you go from right here and you go down 42%, if we go down 42%, oh my God, look at the target. Look at the freaking target. What have I said to you? What did I say to you in terms of where we are more likely to see the Bitcoin bottom? $39,000. If we were to repeat exactly, all right, 42% crash after closing below the 200 weekly moving average, you're looking at a $39,000 Bitcoin. You are looking at a $39,000 Bitcoin. I want to make sure that I'm very clear, guys. This is not a prediction. I'm not predicting the Bitcoin is going to crash 42% after we close below the 200 weekly moving average. What I'm showing to you is that in the last bear market, once we close below the 200 weekly moving average, we crash 42%. And if we were to repeat exactly the same thing, you're looking at a $39,000 Bitcoin. Once again, I want to make sure that I'm very clear. And the reason I want to make sure that I'm very clear is because I don't want any of you guys to stay on the sideline and wait for $39,000. We may go to $39,000. Last time we talked about Bitcoin and we talked about historically, we tend to come back to retest the 78 fib target. It gave us a target of $39,000. But what I've said to you is, don't take $39,000 to the bank. $39,000 is not guaranteed, right? We're just looking at past performance. We're looking at what Bitcoin has done in the past. And we are trying to see if we were to repeat exactly the same, what target are we looking at? So 42%, guys, from the 200 weekly moving average, it gives us a $39,000 Bitcoin. So I'm going to say to you that keep $39,000. Keep $39,000 with you. Keep it in your mind. It seems like $39,000 is going to be an important number. But when it is time to start building a position, I am going to be here and I am going to be telling you guys that I think this is the right time to start dollar cost averaging. All right. I'm not waiting for $39,000. I may start to dollar cost average around $50,000. I may start to dollar cost average around $55,000. Now, you may ask, if you may start to dollar cost average at $55,000, then why don't you start at 67? What is the big difference between a $55,000 Bitcoin and a $67,000 Bitcoin? That's a great question. The reason it is simply because I don't see a reason to be a buyer. I don't see any sign the Bitcoin is bottoming. All right. I don't see any sign the Bitcoin is trying to finalize this bear market. When Bitcoin is going to try to finalize this bear market, when Bitcoin is going to try to bottom, the signs are going to be there. You are going to see the signs, guys. We are going to stop going down and we are going to start breaking some structures. There is going to be patterns. Patterns is not, hey, we have hit the 200 weekly moving average, so this is a good, no. This is not the pattern. All right, you are going to see it, guys, because if you go back to the last bear market, the signs were right there. Look. I want you guys to take a look at this. Look right here, guys. Look. Here we're breaking out for the first time. You go to RSI MACD, bullish divergency right here, guys. While the price of Bitcoin was giving us lower lows, RSI was giving us higher lows on the weekly. MACD was giving us higher lows on the weekly. All right? And also, I want you to take a look at this. Here we get a breakout. This is a breakout right here. I want you to take a look at this. A retest, a higher low. A breakout, a retest, a higher low. All right? The signs are going to be there. You do not need to rush into a position. And this is why I'm not a buyer at the current price. All right? I need to see that actually we are trying to get out of this bear market. I need to see something. If that's taking place around $55,000 or around $50,000 or around $40,000, that's when I'm going to start building a position. But as of right now, looking like this, no, I'd rather stay on the sideline. All right, why should I lock up my capital? Why should I put my capital into something that doesn't show me a reason, to make the investment? Why should I do that? Why not do some research and, try to find something else that's actually trying to do what I want Bitcoin to do? So this is why I'm saying to you, even though I'm looking at this $39,000, it really doesn't mean anything to me, because what means something is the structure of the market. What means something is the structure of the market. Are we breaking this downtrend structure and are we trying to establish an uptrend structure? That to me is what's going to mean something. And that is going to be the reason I get back into this market. Other than that, I'm happy to stay on the sideline. I'm happy to continue to be bearish on this market. All right, I'm happy to continue to deliver the same content. And hopefully you guys, you see where I'm coming from. The more I continue to be bearish on this market, hopefully you guys, you stay doing your research. If you watch my streams, if you value the content, I appreciate you. And hopefully you guys, you see that I'm not clickbaiting. I'm not bearish because I want you to click and watch the video, watch the stream. That's not why I'm bearish on the market. No, I'm bearish because the market has given me a reason to be bearish on the market. Once the market, gives me a reason to be bullish on the market, guess what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to be bullish. So we are about to close below the 200 weekly moving average. And I think we about to see exactly that. The 200 weekly is right now $68,300. Price of Bitcoin is at $67,500. We have less than 3 hours until we get a weekly close. Now, let me be very clear. Bitcoin could potentially close above the 200 weekly. We could easily get back above $68,000. $68,300 and close above the 200 weekly. But I have a lot of faith in the bears right now. Right now, the sellers are in full control of this market. And chat, we have talked about this, all right? Yo, why are you trying to be bullish on the market when the freaking momentum looks like this? We have talked about this. You don't want to go against this right here, guys. Once the market, like once this indicator looks like this, then you need to be on the side of these guys because this is going to be a bullish market. But as long as this is what we have, as long as the momentum looks like this, your prediction should be that the price is going down. All right, price is going down, guys. Yo, chat. Look, this is literally supply and demand. You have less buyers and you have more sellers. You have less buyers and you have less sellers. You have less demand and you have more supply right now. If you want to look at it that way. Right? Business 101, guys. If you have more supply and you have less demand, all right, are the products cheaper or expensive? Cheaper, because the supply of Asia's is too many out there. But if you have more demand and less supply, guess what? You have an expensive market. In terms of Bitcoin, all right, this is the product right here. But you have buyers and you have sellers. The buyers, we just don't have enough of it. You don't have enough buyers. Most people are on the sideline. They're willing to say, hey, I don't want to buy Bitcoin at $67,000. I'm waiting till 40,000. I'm waiting till 30,000. Right? Now, once we get to the point where, Bitcoin gets to a place where, buyers look at it and they say, wait a minute. Oh, this is very attractive. You're going to have, more of a step in. And, those that are selling Bitcoin, they're going to be at a point where, 40,000. Do I really want to sell my Bitcoin at $40,000? Or 45,000? Do I really want to sell my Bitcoin at 45? But right now, at 67,000, they're like, yeah, man, let me get out of my position. 67,000, let me get my profits. Because, my entry was maybe $20,000 or my entry was maybe $5,000. But once it gets to a place where, you look at it and you say, come on, at 35,000, I actually read to buy Bitcoin to sell my Bitcoin. Then, you're going to have, all right, more buyers and, we'll see a bull market all over again. So, do your research. It's not financial advice, but unless I'm short in this market, I would just, really, really try my best not to screw up. And what that means is, staying on the sideline is the best investment strategy in 2026. Once again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Hopefully you guys are appreciating this. Hopefully you are, hopefully you see where I'm coming from. I see a lot of people looking for the next long. They should be looking for exactly. They should be looking for the next short. 100% agree. In a downtrend, you look for short when the market gives you these rallies. If you're on the weekly right now, either you're taking profits or you are, happy in your short position. Your entry was probably around maybe like 83,000. This is a position that's in profits right now. And maybe, or I'm just saying maybe because, I don't know what your game plan is. You're looking at $56,000 and this is going to be your exit. and at 56 you're gonna sit on the side and wait for a rally, or maybe you're waiting for, $49,000. This is where you take your profits, and then you're gonna sit on the sideline. You're gonna wait for a rally. All right, a rally to probably back into, maybe the low $60,000 range. I don't know exactly how you're playing this, but that's exactly what you do in a downtrend. You short the rallies. These rallies, that's when you short it. You ride it to the, you ride it down to the next lower low. You take profits. All right. You look for entries again. Once there's a rally again. So it's very simple. All right. It's not very hard, guys. It's really, really simple. If you want to complicate this and you want to do your own thing, then perfectly fine. But remember, on the other side of your trade, guys, there are going to be people, all right, doing the opposite of you. So do you think you take their profits? Do you think you take their money, or they take your money? It all comes down to risk management. Just don't blow your account. Anyways, let's talk about altcoins, because if Bitcoin is going to close below its 200 weekly moving average, and if we are going to have a nasty weekly close, what does that mean? What does that say when it comes to altcoins? Oh my gosh. Like, this one is it's even worse. When it comes to altcoins, it's even worse, people. Let's talk about it. All right. So, altcoins. I'm going to start with Solana. Well, when it comes to altcoins, most of them already closed below their 200 weekly moving average. But in terms of Solana, this is not a good looking weekly close right here. Yes, we are still, above the low of the month. All right, we're still above $68. But I want you guys to focus on the performance of, these weekly candles. Like, this is not looking good, guys. Chad, just think about this, right? At the beginning of this week, the price of Solana was at $86. At the end of the week, we are at 83. Is that good or bad? This is bad. Really, really bad. In a bull market, we open lower, we close higher. In a bear market, we open higher, we close lower. And this is why I continue to say to you, guys, stay on the sideline. Don't do anything. These altcoins, you are going to buy them cheaper. Like, I don't think you guys realize how cheaper these altcoins are going to get, in the next couple months. Like, really, really cheap, man. You are overpaying right now. Like, this is this is more than premium. $80 Solana in 2020. This is, guys, please do your research. Oh my gosh. I'm looking at Solana right now. Look, if you want to be bullish on Solana, the bare minimum, we got to get above $95. I don't see Solana above 95 in 2026. I'm sorry, guys. I don't see the price of Solana above 95. And what I mean by above, guys, like, I'm talking about price trading above 95. Because, look, it could be a blip. Like, we could just wick above $95. Because this is crypto. It's extremely volatile. But I just don't see the price of Solana above $95 on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis in 2025. 26, excuse me. All right, that is over with. So I'm looking at Solana on this weekly. Look, what we are experiencing right now is a consolidation on the daily. This is a bearish chat. This is not a bullish consolidation right here. To me, this right here now, it actually taking shape. And this is looking like, this pattern right here. Let me actually put it out. Hold on, chat. Let me show you the pattern I'm looking at right now. Hold on, chat. Bringing it up right now. Excuse me, guys. So this looks like a pennant pattern. I'm gonna show it to you guys. There we go, right here. Right here, guys. To me, yo, this looks like this. It's a bearish pennant. Right here, guys. On the daily now, this market is taking shape. Like, you can now see actually a pattern. If I'm looking at this, to me, Chad, you tell me, doesn't this daily pattern look like this right here? Not a bullish one. I'm looking at a bearish one. What do we have, guys? We have the first flagpole right here, right? You have a crash. So what do we have with Solana? This is exactly what we have, guys. This is the pole right here. All right. This is the consolidation. And all that's missing right now, guys, is a breakdown. All right? All that's missing is a breakdown. But guess what? The breakdown is coming. Just give us some time, man. The breakdown is coming. Look, I can go like this if you guys are happy with that. All right. The 4-hour gives us a nice trend line. If you go to the daily, you have like this big wick. So I was trying to pull like a nice trend line. So I was like avoiding the wick. But, if you guys want me to touch the wick, I'm perfectly fine with that. If you go to the 4-hour, guys, look, this looks even more better. So to me, we have a bearish pennant. All right. All that is left is a breakdown. And guess what, guys? I think we're going to break down pretty soon. I don't think, by early March, guys, we in the middle of a breakdown. Look, we got about, is it Friday, the end of February? I think it is, right? This Friday is the end of February. Isn't that right, chat? Friday, let me see. End of February is 28. What is it? 28. 20 Saturday, right? So this upcoming weekend is the end of February. Yo, I think first or second week of March, we are in the middle of this breakdown. I'm looking at Solana somewhere in the $50 range by the first and second week of March. This is not this is not a bullish market, man. And when you look at weekly, because I want to focus my energy on weekly setup, because we have a weekly close today. Look, we're about to close below $95 again for the third week. Yeah, consecutively, guys. This is not good. 1 or 2 more weekly close just above 68, and that is it. And then you're looking at 50, you're looking at 40, potentially $30, if I'm being honest with you guys. And it's not just Solana. I'm not just picking on Solana, guys. It's look at Ethereum, right? Ethereum right here. Right? Why would you want to be bullish on Ethereum looking like this? Remember, last week, where did we close, guys? Last week we closed above, not above. Jesus Christ, what am I even saying? Last week we closed at $1,964. Take a look at the price of Ethereum, $1,950. We need to get above 65. I don't think we're going to do it. I think we are closing lower than last weekly close. So what does that mean? Well, what it means is exactly same thing we just talked about with Solana. And again, take a look at the pattern. Take a look at this pattern right here, guys. What does he look like? Doesn't he look like this? All right, again, you have a crash. This is a drop right here. And then you consolidate. Look at the consolidation, guys. You know, you have lower highs. You have higher lows. What do we have right here? Lower highs, higher lows. Can he be a fake out? Can we go back up? Yes. But let's wait until the market proves to us that this is a fake out right here. I'm looking at this market. And if you long in this market, and it's a position you are planning on holding on for the next 3 to 6 months, my personal belief is that that is a very big mistake. Yo, why don't you wait? Why don't you wait until the next 3 months? See where the price is. I promise you, 3 months from now, you don't have a $3,000 Ethereum. But 3 months from now, you probably buy Ethereum $600 cheaper, $800 cheaper. Yo, the difference in that is huge, man. If you're putting $20,000 in Ethereum, like, do you know what $800 cheaper could? Yo, that's like a few more Ethereums. That is a few more Ethereums. That is what, this $800 difference will do to your portfolio. But yeah, then you go down and then you look at some of these other coins, man. What did I tell you guys about Zcash? Did I tell you, when Zcash was around $300, like, guys, the freaking run is over, man. It's time to short it. It's going back to $180. Now, I'm looking at Zcash. Now, this is the one that have actually done pretty well. If you look at the performance right here, guys, Zcash have done very well. Now, with Zcash, I'm at a place where I'm thinking, is it actually leading the market? Like, are we having a weekly rally, before everything else? Because, when you look at the crash, right, from $560 to $180, like, this is a very, very big drop, guys. And in terms of, like, weekly support, it makes sense. 187 is a place where we get a weekly bounce. But the question is, like, was this the end of the weekly bounce? And is this the, basically the beginning of, I don't even, the beginning of the weekly? Are we just looking at a continuation of this weekly crash? Like, are we looking at, not only losing 187, because, once you lose 187 on the weekly, guys, like, there's no support at all. Because remember, we had these monster, look at these monster weekly candles. Chat, look at how big this weekly run was. We literally went from $62 to $100. This is a $100 move in a week. All right. This is a $100 move in a week, guys. And then you look at the week after. We go from $166 to $300. Chat. A $140 move in a week. After going up $100, we go up $140. Remember, we're talking about Zcash. From $60 to $300 in 2 weeks. All right. No pullbacks. No base was built. Nothing. So on the way down, Zcash is struggling because there's no support. The same way it went up is the same way it's crashing. When you go to the monthly, like, it's even sad because on the monthly, guys, like, you don't have anything in terms of support. If you're looking for support, you got to go all the way back to 2022. Like, these are areas where, 187. Once again, prior resistance right here when we got rejected. These highs right here. This becomes our support. But other than that, you're looking at $80. So the question to me is, are we actually going down to $80 before any weekly rally? And guess what, guys? It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all because you look at the last bear market. Look, we went from like 194. Like, this is a straight line, guys. 194 on the monthly to $16. This is a straight line. Boom. So it wouldn't surprise me, if we go from 5 whatever all the way down to around $80. Like, absolutely wouldn't surprise me, guys. So around $80, I'm going to say this is a place where, Zcash could potentially actually get something. We could potentially get maybe like a very massive, weekly bounce, and then, we come all I don't know what this is. And then we come all the way down into, to the $50 range again. So, anyways, that's what I have when it comes to altcoins. Like, I don't think there's anything else. Look, the state of the cryptocurrency market, it's depressing. If we are going to be honest, like, this is just, oh my God. Oh, excuse me, guys. Oh my God. I can't breathe. I have a nasty stuffy nose. Like, my nose is just super, super stuffy right now. Oh my gosh. So yeah, look, man, like, these patterns right now, you can see the patterns right now. I think even Bitcoin, actually. I didn't get a chance to look at Bitcoin on the daily. Even Bitcoin on the daily, guys. Like, yeah, this looks like a pennant. Right here. I can even go like this. Bang. I think we're going to break down and then ding. So, I guess maybe the question is, if we want to play with something, let me do this. All right, target. So there's a couple ways, people come up with targets. Look, chat, I don't trade with patterns. Like, I don't, like, I talk about patterns, but that's not the way I trade. I look for, breakouts, of course, when a structure is turning bullish. But in terms of, like, targets, there's a couple ways. You can look at it from the triangle right here. All right, where you basically take the highs and the lows. This gives you a target. So the immediate target will be around 57,000. The other way to look at it is, you go with the drop. So in this case, you can either go from like 98,000 to 60, or you can just go from right here, which is 90,000 to around 60. So you take the measurement and you plug it right here. Now this one gives you around a $36,000 Bitcoin. Do I think we're going to 36,000? Who knows? Now, this is more of your long-term target. This is not a short. The short-term target is the 57 one. So the triangle will be your short-term target. The long-term target will be the length of the pole. So that will be your long-term target. So as of right now, this is exactly what we're looking at. In terms of Bitcoin, you can do the same thing for Solana. You can do the same thing for Ethereum. You can do the same thing for a bunch of this stuff. Oh, do I think XRP is going lower? Absolutely. Look, my outlook on XRP is basically back in that 50, 60, 60 cents range. All right. Yeah, from here on, actually, I'm just gonna take the ones you guys are interested in. So XRP, my target is basically, look, I think we're gonna get rid of. Look, I'll be very surprised if we don't come back into this to this range right here. I think we're gonna get rid of all these gains right here. This is the month of November of 2024. I see XRP. Look, I'm very confident XRP is gonna fill this entire wick. So basically, bare minimum is the low here is 78 cents. Like, I feel very, very confident in this. And if I think we're coming down to 78, I have a very good belief that this is more likely. Somewhere in this range right here. All right. Look, whether we bottom at 50 or 60, I think this is more likely. If we come back to 78, I think we make our way down here. So yeah, that'll be my XRP. And then, there we go. So that's XRP. In the short term, I mean, I wouldn't touch XRP, honestly, short term. Because once again, I mean, look, this is bad. Just, the short term price action is really bad. I think the top is in, 167. I think that was the top. And if you're lucky, it goes back to 150. But anything up here, you want to take profits. And once we lose 134, I think that would just do it. I think we're coming all the way down, and we are easily going to blast below $1.12. I think this is not going to hold. And, you basically, yeah, look, I think once you lose that, you're going down to 80 cents. At 80 cents, I wouldn't buy XRP because just when you look at the weekly, they just, I don't even think you see a bullish structure anytime soon, to be honest with you guys. Look, you look at the momentum, guys. I mean, look, man, this looks really bad. All right. RSI looks, okay, this is interesting. RSI's got, it's got like a lower high right here. So let's see if this thing do a double bottom. If the RSI can start trending up, like that will be super, super positive. But, we're going to have to wait. We're going to have to be patient. Let's see how this all plays out. And then, we'll do something at some point. Look, my opinion is that, just at least wait until summer 2026. Like, wait until, what's that, like 3, 4 months from now? 3, 5 months from now? Yeah, that's summer 26. Yeah, basically 3, 4 months. Yeah. I would say wait for the next 4 months. Let's see where this market is. Now, we are going to get, I promise you this, after this next dump, like, we're going to get a big, big relief rally, guys. Like, we're going to get a big one. I have a feeling like it's going to be a big one. Some of these coins, they might even go up like 100%. They may go up. Yeah, some of these tokens, they're going to go up crazy. But I think we got to dump first, and then, after that, we'll see where the short-term rally takes us. All right, chat. Got to jump in the kitchen. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I wanted to do this later, after the weekly was closed, but then I was like, that might not work because, the kids come back home and yeah, it's too much. All right, appreciate you guys. Hopefully you appreciate the stream. We are look, we're streaming every day this week. All right, the kids are out of school. I think I should have some time should have a lot of time in my hands. Hopefully I get better, man, because yeah, this is not the way to do things. Anyways, appreciate you guys. Hopefully you enjoy the stream. I will see you tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll see where this market is. Most likely exactly where we are right now. All right, peace out, chat.